Hello and welcome to the very first episode of the Theo Keeps Talking podcast. This is going to be a highly explorative set of conversations I'm going to have with you all, with myself really. I'm currently in quarantine in the basement of my house as we all practice our wonderful social distancing in the midst of the coronavirus. And I wanted to really get this started by saying thank you for listening, and let's just jump right into it. Now, before we get too far into today's topic, I wanted to discuss a little about myself for those who are unfamiliar. My name is Theo. I am currently a senior waiting for hopefully a graduation ceremony at the end of my year. I am an accounting major, also studied international business, and I just added a minor in technology innovation management. And right now, just kind of waiting things out. The rest of the year will be online, and I'm very much understanding that a lot of universities have had a lot of tough decisions to make in that regard. I've kind of had my senior send-off canceled, but that's okay. Want to make sure that we quote unquote flatten the curve with all that's going on. And I'll be doing my part by recording down here. So even getting further into this, there's been a lot of podcasts that I've been listening to recently, and they very much align with the series of interests that I have. One of the very first podcasts that I got into listening as a very big sports fan was the Bill Simmons podcast, released daily, especially during the football season. It was fantastic getting those perspectives Monday morning, hearing his takes on what was going on throughout the NFL season. I like the formatting of it. It was very professional, very good ad reads, and it was one of the very first motivations I had for getting myself started. Getting into more of my interests as a whole, I'm a really big sports guy. I have been playing sports for the entirety of my life. My father played professional sports, and I wasn't really playing at the college level, more intramural things like that, but I've always been very interested in sports. My favorite sport to watch is basketball. It's been a very integral part of my life. For the greater mass of people, they use it for sports betting. I'm just interested because I am. It's very exciting for me to watch. My favorite player of all time is Vince Carter. He was the most electrifying acrobatic player I had ever seen. His dunks were life-changing as I knew it. He made me want to learn how to dunk, which I never really crossed the 6-foot threshold as a young man, so those dreams were short-lived, but it's all good. It's all good. Now I just do taxes, but you know what? It's okay. Also a very big football fan. I have gotten a lot of ire because I go to school in Philadelphia, but I just so happen to be a Cowboys fan by association of my father, who happened to have a brief stint with the Cowboys as I was not yet born. So it was way before my relevant range of experiences. But yeah, I've been a Cowboys fan for as long as I can remember. I also have a love for the Ravens. I grew up kind of close to that area, and I've always supported them. And also I have family in North Carolina, so I have had a love for the not as strong as an appreciation for the Carolina Panthers, especially Cam Newton and now Christian McCaffrey. So if I had to divide it into tiers, it's been Cowboys 1, Ravens 2, Panthers 3. So if the Cowboys do well, I'm very happy. If the Cowboys don't do well, I'm very sad. If the Ravens do well, I'm very happy. And if the Ravens don't do well, I'm okay. If the Panthers do well, I'm happy. If the Panthers don't do well, it's okay. Doesn't really affect my week. So going into even more of my interests and what really bolstered me into getting this started was my love for esports and gaming as a whole. And I'll touch on that on a later episode as well, how I really got into that. But what really defined how I've gotten into everything was my love for this video game and esports lifestyle company called 100 Thieves. And the CEO and founder of 100 Thieves, Nadeshot, has a podcast called The Courage and Nadeshot Show, and he also has a podcast called Self-Made with Nadeshot, and both of those podcasts are really good listens. I have gotten a lot of entertainment out of those and knowledge and everything out of the Self-Made podcast as well. And currently I've been listening to the May Contain Action by Paul, aka Action Jackson, and Trevor May of the Minnesota Twins. I've been listening to that a lot. They've been having a lot of my favorite esports personalities on the show, and that has gotten me really interested into learning more about the space and understanding that I still have more to learn about my favorite content creators, and getting to know that kind of side of them has been really entertaining for me as well. So, first topic that I wanted to jump into after I've gone through all of the inspirations that I've had is the balance that I've had to understand being under quote unquote quarantine. So if you didn't know, because it hasn't canceled your life as you know it, the coronavirus, more formally known as COVID-19, has grinded society as we know it to a halt. And that has involved canceling spring break trips for certain groups of people, changing semesters to be online, moving students out of dorms, and even more, the NBA season had been canceled, which has made my nights incredibly boring. And the March Madness was canceled, and I'll touch more on the March Madness later. On top of that, you have public event after public event canceled. You have bars and restaurants in certain cities being closed for a 2-week period to maintain what is known as social distancing. And the idea is that the less people you come in contact with, the more likely you are to make sure that people around you stay healthy. And this makes sense. And admittedly, it was a hard concept for me to grasp in the first place, because from the majority of informative sources just 2 weeks ago, this is now March 21st, 2 weeks ago, there didn't seem to be too much pressing concern in the U.S. about the coming coronavirus. There were still public events, especially with St. Patrick's Day weekend. Everything was still all afloat just 2 weeks ago. We heard that there was a growing number of cases in China and South Korea, but it seemed like, admittedly, from my perspective, regardless of any administration's point of view, that it was their problem. And I figured that I wouldn't be doing too much traveling over the month of March if it were to make its way to the U.S., but I didn't think that would necessarily stop me from going out every once in a while, celebrating, my senior year as it is, getting warmer outside, it gets warmer, more social interactions. I thought everything would be, for the most part, 80 to 85% similar, and you would just not go on a cruise anytime soon. What ended up happening was a rapid increase in number of cases beginning last week in the US. I remember that I was supposed to go to a little gathering, and from my greater sources, my family members and everyone around me had concerns that I should, refrain from going to certain events. My girlfriend was mentioning that I should, sit that one out. And I was in denial. I was like, no way. It's just going to be a gathering in an apartment, about 8 people or whatever. What was there to be concerned about? And now it's full-fledged. Here, limit all kinds of gatherings. Even the administration said gatherings of 10 or more people shouldn't happen. The CDC recommended that gatherings of 50 or more people should be prohibited for the next 8 weeks. So that's affecting a lot, and I've been thankful that I hadn't put myself into any situations over the past week and some change to go and test those boundaries. I didn't end up going to that gathering. I really spent the day by myself, and for anyone who's met me before, I am an extreme extrovert, and that was very hard for me to do, but I'm very thankful for that. But it's now put me into the situation where I am starting to remember some of the previous dichotomies that I had had living at home versus living on campus. So one of the major differences between living at home and living on campus are the styles of resources that I've had. So going to school, I lived in a city, and going to school, I usually had access to different kinds of restaurants, different styles of restaurants. The campus gym that we had was one of my favorite places on earth as I knew it. I could play basketball. Granted, it would be crowded, but there was multiple courts I could play on, good facilities, weight room, and everything like that. And at home, when I was at home for my various internships that I had in my hometown, I would go to LA Fitness, and I like staying in shape, but I'm for those that aren't too familiar, I'm what's known as an endomorph, which means that lifting comes very easily and cardio does not. And cardio is what I need for me to, maintain a good body fat percentage and all that. And I hate cardio. My favorite kind of cardio is playing sports, but my internships would be in the winter, and going outside was a no-no. And I very much wanted to run and play basketball, but the LA Fitness that was in the gym, the basketball court that was in the LA Fitness that I had a membership for was one court, high school size, floor was really slippery. There was always people in there, and there wasn't too much opportunity at any given point in time, whether it was before work or after work, to really get in there before the gym closed. And that put a different kind of strain on my willingness to do cardio, because I hate treadmills. It's as simple as that. Treadmills make me feel like a hamster in a cage. I'm just going on the track, and I'm not going anywhere. Ellipticals are okay, I just get bored really easily. And bikes are where it's at, but sometimes my knees just don't be liking the bikes, just don't be feeling them. So my ideal form of cardio, and this goes back to my senior year of high school, there's this track, a public track at a high school down the street from me that I would go to the summer of 2015, summer 2014 rather consistently, about 5 to 6 days a week. I would run around the track, run up the bleachers. It was a full length field, multiple fields like for soccer. You can run up a hill, and that was really my kind of cardio. I found myself being there, and I could spend several hours upon hours there because there was just so much space for me. Excuse me. I didn't mind running because there wasn't that much of a restraint on how much room I had. There were 6 lanes and everything. And then if I wanted to do a different kind of cardio, there was so much open field that I could run up a hill. I could do this. I could do that. I could play around with a soccer ball, just throw some cones down. And that was really ideal for me. But in the winter, that just wasn't going to happen. I would come home from work. It'd be like 6, 7 o'clock. It'd be like 28 degrees outside. And they wouldn't turn the lights on at the park in the winter. So there would be no reason for me to even attempt to go out there. So that cardio was restricted for the summer. But I went to school in the summer. And although I loved my gym, they had a really small track out there. Excuse me. They had a really small track in the gym. For reference, 12 laps was a mile, as opposed to a regular track where 4 laps would be a mile. And the more and more I ran, it was just harder on my knees because you're basically turning the entire time. And it's hard to get any kind of breakaway acceleration going on that track. So my default cardio was basketball. And the only problem would be that I seemingly always get hurt playing basketball, even though I love it. My freshman year, I dislocated my shoulder playing basketball. My sophomore year, I fell, hurt my knee, got cut. It had to get 8 stitches. My third year, got a grade 2 high ankle sprain. It was just a mess. So I figured when I couldn't, and I walked around on my campus a lot, so every time I would get hurt, it would disrupt my other workouts when I would lift or do whatever. So I figured, okay, you got to stop doing basketball. You got to figure something out. And my campus being in a city, I really liked, I really enjoyed seeing people run because it was very much very free, open. The only problem is you have other people on the sidewalk, and I'm kind of a big guy. I know I mentioned I didn't hit the 6-foot threshold. I'm kind of a sturdy guy out here, and I take up a lot of space. I don't find myself enjoying running in cities because I'm very much a momentum based person. If I have to stop at a light and jog in place, it's over. It's just time for me to go home. There's a good amount of trails in my area, but the one thing I hate about trails is you have to basically turn around and do it again. And the worst thing that could happen is you get on the trail and you're about 2 miles from your apartment and you're like, yeah, I got a good pace, and all of a sudden you just feel a raindrop and it's all over because now you got to run all the way back to your apartment, and it's like, someone help me. Oh man. So I just been struggling with that, but now I'm at home. It's been warm, unseasonably warm this entire winter, but I guess that's the payoff you get when you got Coco outside acting up. COVID really not liking us this year, and gotta offset having no snow days by having online school days. So I've been outside. All the indoor gyms are closed, but I've just been running outside, so I've been enjoying that. But the one thing I had noticed is the difference in food I eat. So when I went to school in the surrounding area, there were very healthy options around. There's a lot of vegetarian options, a lot of vegan options, and here there just aren't those options. No, I don't live in the deep south where if you say, can I have unsweet tea, they'll look at you like you have 7 heads. That isn't the case. But a lot of things here are very meat based. I've not seen but so much in terms of plant based or just vegetarian alternatives. Um, so I've been having to be more mindful with that. And also personally, I've devised that for my own health that I needed to have a reduction in how much red meat I ate. And I came to this conclusion about 2 years ago. My parents who are, they're not like old, but they're technically both boomers by definition. Uh, they were telling me about how they went to their doctors and they needed to reduce how much red meat they ate, so they would have a reduction in like their high blood pressure. My dad has diabetes, so they needed to make those dietary changes. And I figured that if eventually I'm gonna have to stop eating red meat, then I might as well just start doing that now. So I went from, getting steak at Chipotle, everyone, pretty consistently to, now it's chicken, and I would pretty much just change up those habits so that now instead of having red meat about 3 to 4 times a week, I only have it once a week. And then one of my closest friends, he became vegetarian a little over a year ago. So I had made that little change to go either meat. They went from meatless for 1 day a week, red meat 1 day a week, and then the rest would be chicken, seafood, whatever it may be. I would go plant-based for an entire day, and then red meat for 1 day, seafood and or chicken for the rest of the week. And that system had been working out very well for me, especially when I was on campus. There was a lot of options out in the area around me, and those same options aren't home. And my parents and relatives, they like red meat. They cook it, they love it. And I'm home and they're cooking and they understand that I've been eating less red meat, but it's just right there. And honestly, I don't really mind. The real trick to any diet is that you can't out exercise your mouth. And if I could have a blend of at school food options and mix that with at home exercise options, oof, I'd be looking good. You know what I'm saying? I know that you got to get ready for your summer body like a year in advance. You can't just do a quick turnaround. I don't know, the Rona got us acting up, so I might have to wait till summer 2021 at this point. But whenever my graduation ceremony happens, at this rate, if I could blend those two, the food and the exercise, and let's just say those grad pictures be looking good. So moving into the next topic before we close out this brief intro episode will be the continuation of my thoughts on the coronavirus as we first began. So there has been this viral clip of a bunch of, I would call them kids, even though they seem to be in my age bracket, of college students who went to spring break and did what they did despite the calls for any attempt at social distancing. And there's a lot of generations that just rag on millennials to the hardest. And technically, I don't even count as a millennial. I'm a 90s baby. I'm not a 90s kid. And that distinction technically makes you Gen Z. I'm about to turn 23 years old, and the cutoff was like 24 if you're gonna be a millennial. So I'm okay with that, but I definitely understand when the boomers are just dunking on the Gen Zers for the ways that some of us have been acting, because it's not just limited to the kids in that clip. It was a lot of my timeline, my Instagram timeline, Twitter timeline, and people everywhere catching flights, not feelings, and blah 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 blah, just completely just throwing out any caution and for anyone but themselves. And it was sad that a good number of people, when they heard that that people who are older or immunocompromised are more at risk of death from the coronavirus strain, they said, oh, so I can't get it, and said heck all to caution and care for others, and they just went on spring break anyway. And that was sad. That was disheartening, and I'm very disappointed that has been the case. And I wish that we could do better. We owe it to generations of people who have preceded us, and people who are immunocompromised, that we would stay at home. That even though the age range of 65 and under are less likely to die unless they are immunocompromised from coronavirus, that we would not be asymptomatic carriers. And I saw this report, can't name the source, but I'm pretty sure this is valid information, that people who are from 21 to 40 have caught the virus as much as people who are 65 plus. Like, we're still catching the virus. We are still receiving symptoms from the virus. We just don't have the high death rate from it as well. And the social distancing aspect to this has been, or it has not shown any long-term results because it's only been a week. But it will do its due diligence. There are people saying that this is a made-up disease, and to which I say I highly doubt that this is made up. People were using the fact that coronavirus isn't new. It's been on cleaning supplies before, which is true. But this strain of coronavirus is very infectious. It has shown to be lethal, and we need to take the proper precautions for us to do so, to make sure that we do not infect other people, that may unknowingly infect other people who then can't handle the symptoms on their own. Being mindful is the first step to us having fun again, and it does suck. And I do empathize with people who feel as though their plans have been canceled because of the virus. I completely understand. I'm a senior in college whose birthday is in the month of March, who is supposed to graduate, and the pre-graduation plans that my university usually throws for the graduating seniors have all been canceled because the rest of the calendar and academic year, the rest of the academic year up to this point is online moving forward. So I understand. It is frustrating. I myself have been frustrated, and I empathize with those people. However, being frustrated does not allow you to be stupid. And in the wise words of my favorite social commentator and news provider, Philip DeFranco, don't be stupid. So with that, I would like to say thank you for tuning in to the first episode of Theo Keeps Talking. I am having fun so far. I look forward to creating more content and social distancing even more. And I hope that you found this episode well, and I hope